What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Touchdown Texas. I'm your host, Shivam Patel, and I have Nick Rodriguez here with me, coming off a Horns victory against A&M last night. What a huge victory, 17-7. We have a lot to talk about, but again, the Horns took care of business. This game hasn't been played since 2011. They went to Kyle Field, and they got the W. So, Nick, how are you feeling, man?
Man, I am feeling great. What a game last night. What a crazy weekend of college football. And oh my goodness, we went there, we beat them. The defense, which I know we'll get into all the details soon, but man, absolutely obliterated them. So fantastic win for the Longhorns. And we got more football to play for. So that's awesome.
Definitely. Yep. We clinched a spot in the SEC championship game next Saturday, right in our backyard in Atlanta and Mercedes-Benz Stadium against the Georgia Bulldogs. Time to get revenge on those dogs.
Yes, baby.
But before we talk about that, again, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. All Longhorns fans, be sure to follow us at touchdown_Texas on all our social media channels and subscribe to our YouTube channels. I know we're feeling great, Longhorn Nation, and we're on a high right now, and let's continue this and let's enjoy this. What a team. Win 11-1, going into Kyle Field and beating the Aggies. So to start our breakdown of the game, I think it's fitting if we start with the defense. Yes. What a performance. Number one defense in the country. They just dominated last night. What grade would you give them?
A++++++. How could you not be impressed with this defense? I think the thing that kills Texas the most last night is stupid not penalties, but stupid turnovers that were either tipped or just the ball jumps the other way or a block punt. But the defense never gave up anything. No points, 2 4th-and-goal stops on their like on the 2-yard line, right where they're about to punch it in. That could totally change the game. But it has to be an A++++. They couldn't do anything at all. And our offense was the thing that's frustrating is that the offense moved the ball. I mean, this score should have been like 30-0 the way we were moving the ball. But stupid penalties and turnovers changed that game. But, man, we've been saying it. You've been saying it longer than I have because I needed to see it. But this is the best defense in the country, and I don't think it's close because that defensive line, the secondary, Michael Taft, another interception. I mean, A+++. What a phenomenal performance to do that at Kyle Field and 0 points allowed from the defense.
Yeah, the defense was amazing. So going into this game, A&M was pretty good offense, but last night they held them to only 244 yards, only 2.9 yards per rush. They were absolutely suffocating last night. Michael Taft, like Nick said, had the interception. 18 interceptions this defense has had this year in the SEC. That is absolutely wild. And a huge 4th down stop. On the first Aggies possession, it was 4th-and-1 on the Longhorns 10-yard line, and Jermaine Lole, a defensive tackle, stuffed the Aggies for a loss to give our offense the ball back. Ethan Burke, a Westlake Austin kid, stopped the Aggies at the 1-yard line. It was huge, and the defense was flying all over the field. Michael Tabb is a ball hog. What about Vernon Broden? 2 sacks, number 45. He made himself a lot of money. A&M couldn't even block him. He had a combination of he just powered through the offensive lineman, or when he needed to, he would get skinny and fit through the crease and get those tackles for a loss. They couldn't block him last night. The defensive line was incredible. Anthony Hill had some extra juice because he was a former Texas A&M commit, and they were talking a little trash about him earlier this week. So Anthony Hill was motivated. It was just a great overall performance, and the defense really stepped up in situations where they needed to. Like, when Quinn Ewers threw that interception, and then when he fumbled, and then with the block punt, the defense had to, guard against these short fields. And what do? They hold their own, and they prevent the Aggies from scoring. And the Aggies' only points came off a pick six. The defense didn't allow any points on their own to the Aggies.
I mean, I still don't think we've played a complete football game with the offense and defense. The defense has gotten scary. I mean, let's tip our cap to A&M. I mean, they did. That is a ferocious what do you call it, home crowd. Like
Mhm.
they do get active and all that sort of stuff. But there was quite a few Texas fans there, and man, the defense just time and time again bailed us out
Mhm.
offensively because this game, and I'm not just saying this, should not have been close.
No, not at
Ball
all.
down the field, it gets tipped. We were texting about it. It gets tipped and then intercepted, and it takes it back to the house. Bad luck on the tip, but Quinn should not throw that ball. We know that. Also, a lot of those plays, a lot of the time, the receiver or whoever ends up getting to the guy, especially that long of an interception. Bad luck. The next possession, we go down, drive. Quinn makes a great play. I thought he had so much passion and energy. We'll talk about Arch in a little bit too. He's got to protect the ball, but it's so close for his knee being down. I mean, it was obviously the right call. It was a fumble, but that's another backbreaker. That just it happens. And it's on Quinn, but it's just tough. It's tough. And then the block punt is just unexcusable. I mean, that can't happen. But this is what we didn't do against Georgia. Similar. We could not against Georgia, we did not capitalize on those situations, and they couldn't capitalize against us. And that's why we still came up with a 10-point victory. We only scored 17. We easily could have scored 2 more touchdowns. We didn't. The defense smothered them, won the game, and we're ready for Georgia now.
Definitely. And I also want to give a big shout out to this defense and how they contained the quarterback Marcel Reed. Just ask LSU. They couldn't stop Marcel Reed in the second half. He's a decent passer, like I'll say average passer, but he's a 9 out of 10 with his legs. Like he's very dynamic. Our defense did a great job of containing him, making him stay in the pocket. And then when he wanted to leave the pocket, they closed so fast on any run lanes that Reed had. He only had like one, I think, first down run. That was it. So Anthony Hill did a great job of spying on him. Leon and LaFau, our defensive tackles, they did a great job of tackling and wrapping him up because he's very elusive and he can break a lot of tackles. And he loves to throw on the run, specifically to the right side. So we were preventing him from going right and making him take uncomfortable angles throwing the ball, and we made him look like the average quarterback that he is. So there was great rushing and lane at integrity, and they could not get the run game going. Amari Daniels is a great running back. Ruben Owens, well, they had no answer to that, so they made the Aggies one-dimensional into a passing team, and our secondary is a no-fly zone. So they were holding it down all game. I want to give also a shout out to Makuba on a huge 3rd and 13. The wide receiver would have caught the ball, but Makuba broke it up. So he did a great job of making a PBU on a play where the Aggies would have gotten a first down. So again, overall solid performance, and the defense deserves major kudos from this game.
Absolutely, and I think it's the play you're referencing, but was that the Makuba where they initially called it targeting and then they overturned it?
No, that was a different play. But go ahead, just talk about that.
But that
play.
was also a 3rd and long,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean that was the right call to not call that targeting because he did hit him with the helmet, but he didn't lead with the helmet. He led more with his shoulder and got him a little bit with the helmet. But that would have been massive. I mean, if they called that, he's out for the first half of the Georgia game, which we need him for. And then we would need him in the secondary for the second half of that football game against A&M. So massive, massive call. I thought the refs were a little weird last night. I mean, every time, and we scored 2 touchdowns. They were both very clear. The Arch Manning run and then the Jaden Blue catch in the end zone, which, was great. But both of them, they called them non-touchdowns right away. And then both were overturned for touchdowns. So I thought that was a little interesting. Eventually they got it right. But.
Right. Well, replay had to assist with that, which to me, they were clear. They were clear, but that Makuba play, I said it initially that it's not a targeting, and it's good that Makuba didn't get ejected because we're already so thin in the secondary. We're missing Derek Williams for the year. We would have had to play Jelani McDonald. Jelani McDonald's a great player, don't get me wrong, but he's only a redshirt freshman.
Yeah, he's young, exactly.
Yeah, Makuba is a 4th-year player who played 3 years at Clemson, and you could tell that he knows how to play the game. But I want to give a huge game ball, to the defensive line specifically, Jermaine Lole, Alfred Collins, Vernon Broden, our linebackers, Leon and LaFau, Anthony Hill, our secondary, Michael Tapp, John A. Barrett. It was just the overall defensive effort. And initially, I liked how they changed it up a little bit because PK, we were blitzing them on the first possession, and our blitz wasn't getting there as much, and A&M started getting, first down to go down the field. But PK adjusted, and he mixed up the coverages, and he confused Marcel Reed. So PK is doing a great job of keeping the offense guessing and in mixing all these exotic coverages, all these players. Like Colin Simmons, even last night, true freshman, almost had a couple sacks. They couldn't block him. Our defense has the depth, they have the skill, they have the tenacity, they have the heart, and they are the backbone and an identity of this team.
We've been saying it probably since September because the offense has been up and down as far as Quinn being in and out, playing Georgia. The defense has been carrying this team. It was kind of silly at first when we first started saying it, but they have been carrying this team all season long. We have the best defense, and there's two plays that will stand out that Aggie fans are just gonna like pound their head against the wall because they were right there twice. Early in the game, they're right there within the 5-yard line. They go for it, which I think was the right call to go for it. And they run up the middle 2 plays in a row, up on 3rd down and 4th down, and just absolutely gets stuffed. And then later in the game, after, just a terrible – it's not the punter's fault. No one was there to block the guy. They had the ball right there on the 20. It looks like an easy touchdown, stuffed again. I do think, again, that's the right call for A&M to be going for it. So, when you are able – and you kept bringing this stat up the last 3 or 4 weeks about true road games are record, right? And that's why going into Michigan, going to Alabama, felt very good about it, right? And went in, took care of business. Sark, Quinn, everybody played outstanding, but that defense is going to take us as far as it wants to this season.
Definitely. Yep. To piggyback off that stat that Nick was referencing, now it's 11 straight true road games that Sark and Quinn have won. And our last road loss, just to put it into context for people, was 2022, Quinn's first year at Texas against Oklahoma State, where the wind was like 40 to 50 miles per hour, and somehow we decided to throw like 8 deep balls. But again, that was the last road. That was the last road loss. Think about how far this program has come, how far this team has come to going into hostile environments and coming home with the victory. So for that transition, now let's talk about the offense. So the offense, what a game. Tre Wisner, let's start with him first. 33 carries, 186 yards. What a beast. Talk about his performance and how he was able to get rushing yards on a very stout Texas A&M defense.
They have a very good defensive line, and he is so crafty. He's like a bowling ball. He just bounces through the tackles, and anytime, because there was a lot of times that our offensive line got beat, or they would be in the backfield, but it would either be a dump off from Quinn or it would be a handoff, and he would like squirm, and even on the announcers were talking about his run after tackle run after being hit has to be crazy because he would just get hit, bounce, and squirm 5, 6, 7 yards. He was averaging 6 carries per rush. He was so crucial to this offense and to this game plan. He was going into the season, RB3?
Yeah.
Right? And he is clearly RB1, obviously. That performance was amazing. Almost 200 yards. I think he had 185,
186. Yeah.
186. Okay.
Very close.
I shorted him 1 yard. Yeah. So, absolutely dominated. And then I love Jaden Blue. They used, like just what you said last week, they used him perfectly. They gave him some run plays, but where did they use him? The passing game. He had a reception, a huge one. He got his feet in bounds. He's great in the passing game. I think he's better in the passing game as far as catching the ball than maybe Wisner is as far as routes like that. Dump offs might be Wisner's game, but phenomenal. We can get into other stuff in a minute about the quarterback play and everything else, but man, Wisner, absolutely insane. And we're going to need that when we play Georgia and then as we get into the playoff.
Definitely. And yeah, Wisner had a coming out party for a lot of the country. There was a lot of eyeballs on that game last night, and the country got introduced to Tre Wisner, and he was amazing. he was just bouncing off people. At times when he would run in the middle, but then there would be a log jam, then he would just loop it out and just get the yards,
Yes.
towards the sideline. They couldn't get him down on the first tackle. Like 3 or 4 Aggies had to like gang tackle him just to get him down.
He's small. He's not that big either.
He's not that big. And out of our running game, they had 10 first downs last night. You don't see that a lot. The running game was amazing. And that was a big, huge, play for us, because the security blanket for us, because Quinn was up and down in the first quarter. He started playing well in the second quarter, but we started to lead on the run game in the third and fourth quarter to chew up clock. You could see the Aggies defensive line was getting tired, because as Kirk said on the broadcast, they have a great starting defensive line, but their depth is kind of questionable. We just kept pounding them until they got tired, and that's how we won the game. So the running game was huge. But now let's talk about the quarterback. Quinn Ewers, he had 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 17 for 28 for 218 yards. So before we talk about Arch, let's talk about Quinn Ewers' performance last night.
People are going to disagree with this, but I thought he played awesome last night. He had the high ankle sprain. He was gutting it out, and it was shaky. I mean, the environment's insane, right? We got to give A&M credit there, right? It was pretty wild, but neither team really did anything in the first drive or two, right? And then Quinn started to get it going. I mean, this dude was running on that ankle. I love the use. I mean, we'll get more into it in a minute, but of using Arch, I thought it was perfect the way they used Arch. But okay, we know Quinn had the bad interception. We know about the fumble. Those are bad. Those can't happen. Those also were a little unlucky as well. Okay. Other than that, he had some big time throws that we've been looking for over the last few weeks, right? I mean, huge one to Golden. I mean, just massive throws. And big game Quinn came through again. I mean, the one when he balled out against Michigan, he had some great throws to Gunnar Helm, who played well. I mean, he was dicing it up. 2 bad plays that really could hurt us down the line. It really could. But overall, I mean, I would give him a B+, because he really did so much, and he gutted us out to a tough victory. And I mean, I blame him more for the interception than anything. The fumble, I mean, his knee was inches away from being down. He's got to protect it more. He had it too loose, but I still got to give the man credit for gutting it through it's hard to run on that. And he looked good in the pocket, didn't take too many bad sacks, I thought. And he had some laser throws, which he comes up big. We just got to heal him up, and he just can't make too many of those bad plays against Georgia and then whoever we end up playing in the playoff.
Yeah, he was not playing at 100% last night, but that 26-yard run settled us down, and he would have got more, but he just lost his balance on a kinky ankle.
Exactly.
Which was super impressive. We connected on a deep ball. That was very positive. Like when Nick was talking about Matthew Golden, that laser pass that he threw to Gunnar Helm that was this close to being intercepted, but what a catch by Gunnar Helm on third down. Quinn converted 4 straight third down plays, which was huge. We had a 35-yard pass to Matthew Golden, 44-yard pass. So Quinn had some deep plays that were really positive. And yeah, he was stepping up in the pocket. His feet looked confident, like he was setting his feet on his throws. He wasn't throwing on his back foot. He was stepping up, navigating the pocket, and there was a lot of NFL scouts there. So Quinn was showing some progress. He looked comfortable out there. He was trusting his offensive line. He was trusting his reads. Whenever he made a read, he just let it rip, because we know from high school he has the arm strength to throw it to anywhere on the field. It's just that sometimes he gets a little underconfident on some stuff. So last night he looked sharp. He looked ready. He looked mentally focused. And, the short game stuff wasn't working as much because the Aggies were really, honing in on that, just like Georgia was honing in on that. So Sark started going to the intermediate stuff, the deep curls, the crossing routes, the slants. And that's what got Quinn comfortable. So yeah, Quinn, overall, I would give him an A- from last night, because the way he managed the game. The turnover, I just want to touch on that. I don't blame Quinn as much on that, because I thought Sark should have ran the ball. It was 3rd and 2. Nobody could stop Wisner, so I thought they should have ran the ball. So I don't put blame on Quinn, even though Quinn does this sometimes. He just throws it to the spot where he expects the receiver to be without looking. So he
Yeah,
needs to like check to make sure that the wide receiver is there. And it was just an unfortunate interception and the fumble. I don't want him to run too much, even though it was
right.
effective last time. But yeah, he has to have better ball security. But Quinn
Yeah, I
Ewers,
agree.
but that was a great pass to Jaden Blue in the corner of the end zone. We see
A
along
dog.
the country, not a lot of quarterbacks connect on that pass. So he threw it right to where it needed to be, where only Jaden Blue can get that ball, and it was an incredible catch. And Jaden Blue came up with some big plays in the passing game. And what did we say yesterday or last week? We didn't want Jaden Blue to get too many carries in this game, but be involved with the passing game, and he was involved.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head, right? I mean, Jaden Blue, that first of all, that throw was a dart
Mm-hmm.
and it was perfectly thrown. And I think that's why what you just said is why Quinn does that sometimes, right? He's like, man, I could throw it anywhere. That
Yeah,
throw to Gunnar Helm was perfect. I mean, it was
yeah.
there was two guys, right? And he just throws it right. I mean, so yeah, he's gonna be like, well, I can risk it again. So you're gonna get that with Quinn. I mean, I'm not comparing him to Mahomes, but Mahomes was like that when he was at Texas Tech, where he
Mm-hmm.
could do it a lot, and then it would cause turnovers and stuff like that. But I mean, he is awesome if he just settles down. I mean, but the thing is with Quinn, you want that. You want him to play like that, to play with a little bit of a risk, but just like hone it in a little bit. Know what the score is. Know that we're up 10. Know that we got a good kicker. And we missed a kick at the end of the first half. Bert Auburn. It was a farther kick, so it's not like it was a cheap, easy kick for Auburn, but he missed that. We go up 20-7, or 20-0 actually, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
but no, very, very happy with Quinn and Arch. But let's talk about Arch. I mean, the way they used Arch, I thought was perfect in this game. They used him perfectly. That play that they used him on in the first quarter, was it the first quarter?
Yeah, it was the first quarter. Towards the end, it was about 3 minutes left in the first quarter. Yeah.
I mean, who would have thought the first touchdown in Texas A&M in 13 years would be a Manning? I mean, you can't write it better than that. Gets the ball, runs it perfectly. The balance of this kid is awesome. Dives in, hits the pylon, touchdown. And the swag, as you can see right here, if you're watching on YouTube, I mean, this kid was ready. I thought they played him just the right amount. They didn't play him too much. Obviously, they weren't afraid of Quinn's turnovers or Quinn's health or decision making. This is Quinn's team. But man, am I pumped for Arch next year. But the great thing that I love about Sark is they put Arch in the game late in the game. A&M calls a timeout because Arch is in the game. Well, what does Texas do? They put Quinn back in. So
Oh, that
I
was
think
genius.
that was
Yeah.
awesome. That was awesome. So just touching on Quinn and Arch, I mean, I thought that was perfect chemistry, and I think that's something we can use against Georgia too.
Yeah, and I was actually surprised that they used Arch in the running game because Sark has said from the beginning, from the Sam Ellinger days, we're not a QB power team. Maybe Sark was just throwing misdirection to
Maybe.
get every And when they put Arch Manning in the game, just to put it into context, it was a 4th and 2 on the A&M 15-yard line. And what does Arch Manning do? He breaks the tackle and he jumps for the pylon. And I'm like, that's a touchdown, but they called it at the 1-yard line, but the
Yeah.
replay fixed it. And Arch Manning coming in, making clutch plays, and it was amazing. They used him up. They used him a couple more times, and he's going to be a part of this offense now in the red zone. And he's a weapon. He's an absolute weapon. He has huge legs. He can break tackles. But I wouldn't be surprised against Georgia if you see a variation with that, where they act like they're going to run, but then Arch, we know he could throw the ball, and he throws
That's
a
the
touchdown
thing.
pass. Yes.
That's the thing, because with Michigan, just to use Michigan as an example, it was Davis Warren, and I can't remember who's the backup. The Orgy.
Orgy.
When you
Yeah.
know Orgy's in, it's automatically a run play because he can't really throw it, right? He's like an average at best thrower, so he can't. He's a great runner, and they used him yesterday, but but with Arch, he's got a great arm. So
Amazing
there could
arm.
be a certain package where maybe we're a little farther back, 25, 30-yard line, throw him in there, and it's a read pass option, and he, dices him up. So that's it's a different kind of package that we could use for him. But the
Definitely.
future is very bright with Arch. I'm very excited to have him.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Oh, it's gonna be awesome.
UT fans got a glimpse of that, and
Oh
and I
man.
love this because it's something else that Georgia and Kirby Smart now have seen on film that they got to prepare for now. Kirby's like pulling his hair out, like, oh no, now I got to prepare for this now. Like
Yeah.
after all the weapons that we have, and yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they do an RPO Arch Manning pass because it's going to be wide open because you know the defense is going to be honing in on Arch running the ball.
Yeah.
So Arch, what a play, and that got us on the board 7-0. That got us the momentum, and that's Arch Manning's fourth rushing touchdown of the year. So shout out to Arch Manning, and yep, the future is definitely bright. But let's talk about the rest of the offense. So we talked about the running backs, we talked about Quinn Ewers, we talked about Arch. Let's talk about the wide receivers. Isaiah Bond, Quinn and Isaiah Bond, had some chemistry issues a little bit. I'm not worried about that. Isaiah Bond missed 2 games with the ankle injury. He'll get back. He was a little gimpy last night. But Matthew Golden, Gunnar Helm, even Ryan Wingo, a true freshman, caught the pass. Talk about the wide receivers and how they played last night.
Oh, man, they were just there. They were just there, especially like Gunnar Helm, Mr. Reliable, always there when you need him. You mentioned it. Ryan Wingo had a nice little catch for a first down. Matthew Golden, great performance from him as well. I mean, it's just guy after guy after guy. Like you said with Isaiah Bond, they had a misconnection, I think, on a third down late in the game, but I wasn't worried about that. Like you said, it's his ankle, it's his knee. Like he's still a little limpy. Miscommunication is going to happen when you've been out or in and out of the lineup. So I'm not worried about Isaiah Bond. We know he's a big time player and he's going to be ready to go. But Gunnar Helm is so good because it's like when things break down. I think Matthew Golden is like this too, where things break down, they come back to the quarterback. Quinn can look for them, and those two guys especially have been such a safe target for them because they rarely drop the ball and they always break tackles. Matthew Golden's a great route runner. Gunnar Helm he's so great after the catch. He hurled another guy. For a big guy, he can really move. So very reliable weapons for Quinn and for Arch for that matter as well. So they played awesome.
Definitely, and even DeAndre Moore had some nice catches because he struggled with drops the last couple of games, so that was good to get his confidence up. They helped the quarterback out. They were winning their one-on-one matchup because these A&M quarterbacks are really good. And Sark also schemed them up to have wide open routes, a lot of misdirection. So the RPO they had no answer for, and Quinn was delivering it to them on time and accurately. So the wide receivers definitely played really well, and they deserve a shout out for the way that they played last night. So now Texas is in the SEC championship game in the first year in the SEC, and we have a rematch with the almighty Georgia Bulldogs, who barely escaped Georgia Tech Friday night. That was the game of the year. What was it? 8 overtimes?
8 overtimes.
8 overtimes. The game is going to be in their backyard this time at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Give me a preview of this game. What are you looking for in this matchup?
It's going to be the same thing as when we played them back in October. Who dominates the line of scrimmage? And I think you saw over the last few months, Ole Miss dominated their offensive line. Georgia Tech, I wouldn't say dominated their offensive line, but they had a lot of victories. And it was a back and forth game. Texas can win this game. And I'm very confident that we can win this game because Tech is a good team, a really good team. They're now 7-5, but you're letting a 7-5 team take you to 8 overtimes at home. It's not the same thing as winning by 10 at Kyle Field. I'm sorry, it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's all credit to Georgia Tech, but this is not the same thing. Now, Georgia does have they tend to play down to an opponent, and they are going to be rearing to go to try to sweep us this year. But let me just say, and I've been saying this since we lost, it's hard to beat a team twice. It's hard. Just like Georgia beat Alabama in the regular season, Bama has beaten them later on. It's hard. This is the matchup we wanted. We've lost one game this year at our building. Now we play them again in their backyard. We can beat them. It's going to come down to the line of scrimmage. It's going to come down just like the last time. You can check what we said the last time. Who's going to dominate the line of scrimmage? Is Kelvin Banks healthy?
Mm-hmm.
Quinn Ewers, who's going to make the least amount of mistakes? Both quarterbacks have been playing well since then, right? Can we get to the quarterback? Can we rattle? Decision-making, right? Tre Wisner is going to be massive in this game. The health of Isaiah Bond is going to be massive, right? So I feel very confident. Right now, we're favored by 2.5 points. I think we can win this game and we can bully them. We're not afraid of Georgia. The second half of that game, we played a lot better. We just got to keep our head in the game. And we have to realize that SEC championship obviously is the goal, right? Beat your rivals, SEC championship. But this is not it, okay? There's this, and then there's a national championship. So we still have a ton to play for. There's a lot of football to be played.
Definitely, yep, and I agree with a lot of your points. But this is going to be a massive game. Georgia's 7th in the country. We're 3rd in the country. Whoever wins this game gets a first-round bye in the college football playoff. We have revenge on their mind against, to beat Georgia. But Georgia's also playing for something because last year they lost in the SEC championship game to Alabama, and Georgia somehow feels like they're still disrespected this entire year. They're counted out somehow. I don't get that, but hey, that's their angle that they're trying to go for. But for me, the bottom line is the quarterbacks: Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers. Both quarterbacks were supposed to go 1-2 in the draft this year, and both quarterbacks have had their ups and downs this year. I think that's fair to say.
Yep.
But as Nick said, the last 3 weeks, both quarterbacks have the light bulb has gone on, and they started to play. They're starting to play better. Which quarterback is going to make the plays when the game matters most, in a crucial situation, converting third downs, in the red zone, in the fourth quarter? Also, which quarterback is going to avoid the turnover bug? Because we know Carson Beck is very turnover happy. He had 3 interceptions in all the big games that Georgia has played this year. And he did play well against Tennessee, so I give him credit for that. He was amazing against Tennessee. But we know that if our defensive line can get pressure on Carson Beck, he has happy feet a little bit. He just likes to just throw it up there, and our defensive secondary can take advantage of those turnovers. So who's going to play better? Also, the running game. They have a really good running back in Trevor Etienne. But we also have a stud running back in Tre Wisner, who should be mentioned as one of the best running backs in the country. I still think he's a little bit underrated in that sense.
100%, yes.
But I think whoever's going to, get some yards in the running game is also going to be huge in this game to see who could take pressure off the quarterback and who can get those tough yards. So it's going to be a nail biter. It's going to be a close game towards the end. Georgia's not going to blow us out like the last time. We're not going to blow.
We're not going to blow them out. No.
Yeah, we're not going to blow them out. But I'm going to let Nick go with the score prediction. Who do you think is going to win, and what's your score?
I think Texas wins, and I'm not just being a Texas homer. I do think it's really hard to beat the same team twice, especially if you have the caliber roster that Texas does. I would be saying the same thing, honestly, if we beat Georgia the first time. It's really hard to beat the same team twice. I'm not worried about the crowd in Atlanta. I think Michigan's going to be tougher. A&M is going to be tougher. There's going to be a lot of Georgia fans, probably more than Texas fans, but there's a lot of Texas fans here too. So it's probably going to be like 60-40, maybe even 70-30, but it's not going to be a major factor. I'm going to go 23-17 Texas. I think we score a late field goal to go up 23-17. It might be a field goal fest, but points in these kinds of games are going to matter. And my last thing, the thing that we did against A&M that we did not do the last time against Georgia, they like you just mentioned with Carson Beck, he turned the ball over 3 times, and we got no points out of that. It should at least be 9 points if you're getting field goals, and that changes the game entirely. But we did that against A&M, right? They turned the ball over, we would get a touchdown. So I think we capitalize more, and we win a very, very tight game, 23-17. We get our bye.
I'm going to go 20-17, very similar.
Okay.
And again, we're not being a homer, but I think Quinn is slightly better than Carson Beck. I said this from the beginning. I know we said Carson Beck. Yes, I know we said Carson Beck was the #1 quarterback going into the SEC, but that's more body of work. I'm just talking about talent. Quinn throws a better ball. I think he has a little bit better command. He plays the position, better. And I think Quinn, big game Quinn, we were talking
Big
about,
game Quinn.
and he went off
He
last
wants
year
revenge.
in the Big 12 championship game against Oklahoma State. Quinn knows this is another legacy game for him, and he can put his stamp on the Texas program if he wins this game, because last night he set a record. It went kind of under the radar. He's now has the third most touchdown passes in Texas football history among quarterbacks. Quinn Ewers is number 3. He can add to that. Quinn knows he's going to play well. I think he loves playing on the road. I'm not going to say he doesn't like playing at DKR, but I think he likes playing on the road and neutral sites game a little better, shut the crowd up a little bit, because it's going to be majority. It's going to be majority Georgia fans. Me and Nick know a lot of Georgia fans, so we're definitely excited. You have 20-17. I think it's going to be 17-17, and Quinn Ewers is going to take them on a 2-minute drive. He's going to throw a deep pass to Isaiah Bond for 30 yards to get us into field goal range, and Bert Auburn's going to kick a 35-yard field goal, and Texas is going to, as time expires, Texas is going to win 20-17.
Oh man, I'm pumped. I'm excited. It's going to be an awesome game. It's going to be an awesome day of college football, and we also got Ohio State losing. I mean,
that was crazy.
So now it's going to be Penn State and Oregon. I mean, can Penn State beat Oregon?
That's going to be a good game. Yeah.
It's going to be a good one.
SMU Clemson. Yeah.
SMU Clemson, because Miami lost, but I mean, it's going to be wild. I mean, Georgia, Texas, both fan bases can breathe a little bit sigh of relief. I mean, they'll be in the playoff, win or lose.
Both of them are.
So you have that. Another little sweet thing. I wasn't even thinking about it during the week though. Is A&M is completely out. They're not getting in. I didn't even think about that, but they're 8-4 again, and so they're out. They have no chance.
The only 3 SEC teams that are for sure going to be in is Tennessee, who Nico wasn't playing well. He had 4 touchdown passes, 1 interception. To Georgia and Texas. Those are the only 3 SEC teams. But before we get out of here, Nick, just real quick, I want your opinion on the quarterback battle. Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers. Compare their games, and how do you think they match up with each other?
Well, they've both been playing very well over the last few weeks. I think I agree with you. I would give Quinn Ewers the edge. They both can be turnover happy. They both can be a little bit happy feet. But I think as far as like consistency, who's more of a gamer, who can make that deep throw and actually connect, who's more calm under pressure, I'm going to slightly lean Ewers. We've just seen it time and time again. Not that we haven't seen it with Carson Beck, but he just gets carried a little bit more with his defense. I can't imagine a scenario where Ewers throws 3 picks and we win by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So just credit to the Georgia team. So I think Ewers is playing at a higher level slightly because Beck is balling out, but I think because of that, Beck is more prone to turnovers. We win a very, very close game.
All I'm going to leave us out as we get out of here is Georgia needed 8 overtimes to beat their rival at home. We beat our rival, who we haven't played in 13 years, by 10 points at Kyle Field. Bottom line, thank you so much, everybody, for watching this episode of Touchdown Texas. Be sure to follow us on our social media channels and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Again, we want to get you all in the conversations. We want to hear from y'all in the comments. What do y'all think about this A&M win? Well, what do you think we did well to win those games? And then we want to hear from you. What do you think about this upcoming Georgia game? Again, me and Nick are in Atlanta. We're going to be back next Sunday morning to break down this game. But until then, hook 'em and see you next time.